Okay, picture this. You're in a pitch-black bedroom. The absolute only light is this harsh, blue-white glow from a phone screen, just kind of casting shadows on a face from below. It almost feels like found footage, right? Like something you're not really supposed to be watching. We're diving into something today that happens in the dead of night, something that completely shatters our sense of safety. So welcome to this explainer on dead rings and midnight echoes.
You wake up. It's exactly 3:17 a.m. You hear that sound. You know the one. That terrifying, aggressive, rattling vibration of your phone just buzzing violently against a wooden nightstand. So you reach over, your heart is absolutely pounding, you're squinting against that sickly green glow of the caller ID screen, and then you see it. One missed call. From yourself. From your exact number. I mean, the primal, visceral dread that hits you in that moment, it is just completely unnatural.
Which brings us to a genuinely terrifying question. What on earth do you do when your absolute lifeline becomes a threat? Think about it. Our phones are supposed to be our safety nets, right? They connect us to the people we know, the people we trust. So when your own number calls you in the middle of the night, or say a deceased relative's contact suddenly lights up your screen, that literally breaks reality. It's the ultimate violation of your safety. You're just paralyzed by this dread of, do I answer, do I ignore it? It's that creeping feeling that something or someone is using your most personal device to get right to you.
And look, this isn't just some creepy internet urban legend. Take the actual documented timeline of a Reddit user who goes by Dr. Kill Again. For 4 solid months, this person endured a nightly escalation. I mean, every single night, without skipping a beat. First call drops at 2 a.m. Second call hits at 3 a.m. Final call at 4 a.m. And the caller ID? It displayed their own name and their own cell number every single time. When they finally just couldn't take it anymore and actually answered, no voice on the other end. Just this heavy, aggressive static and a really bizarre low hum.
This kind of digital horror actually runs incredibly deep. Take the story of Marcus Chen. He's a 28-year-old software engineer based in Seattle. He got a call from his own number right at 3 a.m. He picked up figuring, it's probably just some weird carrier glitch. But instead, he heard dead silence. And then breathing. Breathing that perfectly matched his own rhythm. When he finally pulled the phone away from his ear, he heard his own voice come through the speaker, and it just asked, "Why did you answer?"
From there, Marcus's story escalated into what you could only call a full-blown technological haunting. Get this, his phone would ring even when it was powered entirely off, even without a SIM card inside. When he did answer, he'd hear the ambient sounds of his own apartment, like his cat's collar jingling or the refrigerator humming, but the sounds on the phone were happening 3 seconds before they actually happened in real life. It was like he was getting a call from the future. He even heard this overlapping, backwards laughter. A parapsychologist named Dr. Sarah Whitmore investigated this case, and she theorized that during the witching hour, right around 3 a.m., our constantly connected smart devices might actually act as bridges between different timelines or realities. It honestly got so terrifying for Marcus that he ended up violently smashing his phone to pieces just to literally sever the connection.
Now, of course, the idea of the impossible reaching out through our phones isn't exactly a new concept. I mean, think about that chilling phrase, "Hello? Where are you? I want to talk to you." It's an absolute classic cultural trope of the dead reaching out through technology. You might remember it from that famous 1964 Twilight Zone episode, Night Call. In that one, an elderly woman is tormented by these terrifying, static-filled calls in the middle of the night, only to find out the phone company traced the line to a fallen telephone wire resting directly on her deceased fiancé's grave. So yeah, culturally, we have always been terrified of what might be traveling through those wires. But let's actually pivot away from the supernatural dread for a second and look at the scientific reality. A peer-reviewed study out of the University of Virginia School of Medicine dove deep into what they call after-death communications, or ADCs, and what they found is kind of mind-blowing. It turns out perceiving electronic anomalies, like getting a phone call, a text message, or even an email from a deceased relative, is incredibly common for the bereaved. We're talking up to 34% of the general population experiencing these phenomena, and that percentage is even higher among widows and widowers.
Now, you'd probably think that getting a phone call from a partner who passed away would just be absolutely terrifying, right? But the data from that Yuva study reveals a completely different reality. A massive 81% of bereaved spouses who experienced these communications said it actually brought them deep comfort and emotional healing. Rather than causing panic or fear, 42% even reported that it significantly accelerated their recovery and helped them process their grief. It completely flips our whole horror movie expectation right on its head.
Okay, but let's get back to that 3:17 a.m. call from your own number. If it's not a ghost, and we're fairly certain it's not a glitch in the multiverse, then what exactly is it? Well, here is the cold, hard, technological truth. According to the Minnesota Attorney General, it is a very common criminal tactic known as spoofing. Basically, spoofing is the act of falsifying caller ID information to impersonate someone you trust, or, in this case, even yourself, purely to trick you into picking up the phone.
So how exactly do they pull this off? Let's break down the mechanics of a phantom call. These scammers are bypassing your phone's defenses using Voice over Internet Protocol, or VoIP services. They use dedicated spoofing websites and automated computer programs that literally just copy your exact digits so they show up on your screen. So to finally answer that classic horror movie trope, no, the call isn't coming from inside the house. It's actually coming from overseas criminal gangs who are aggressively masking their identities to stay completely off law enforcement's radar.
But you gotta wonder, what is the actual motive here? Why go through the trouble of using the shock value of calling you from your own number? Well, as the privacy experts over at Incogni explain, there are two primary attacks happening here. First, by shocking you into actually answering the phone, they use dedicated tech to instantly insert fraudulent charges directly onto your phone bill. The second angle is data theft. You know, you're in that confused, half-awake, vulnerable state at 3 a.m. They are trying to trick you into divulging your social security number or credit card information. They are literally weaponizing your own psychology against you.
So how do we fight back? How do we regain our safety and secure our devices? The Minnesota Attorney General lays out some very specific steps. Step 1 is absolutely the most critical. Do not answer. Just let it ring right to voicemail. Because if you answer, you are actively confirming to the scammer software that your number is live and active, which is just going to invite a flood of even more calls. Step 2, report it directly to your phone company. Step 3, file an official complaint with the FTC and the FCC. And Step 4, no matter what, absolutely never share your personal information on these calls.
But look, we also need to be proactive here to stop the digital bleeding, right? Cutting the connection requires accepting a few hard truths. First up, you have to start ignoring familiar but unexpected numbers. Second, and this is a big one, do not rely on the National Do Not Call Registry. Scammers literally ignore it entirely. To really put a stop to this, you have to remove your digital footprint from the data brokers who are out there selling your phone number to these gangs in the very first place. There are actually services like Ignoki that can automate these data removal requests for you, which essentially cuts off the scammer's supply line at the source.
So let's bring it all back to that dark bedroom. Imagine the screen is glitching. You see those faint scan lines. Your phone is just sitting there on the wooden nightstand, its screen glowing softly in the pitch black. Knowing what we know now about the vulnerabilities of our networks, all those data brokers basically selling our lives, and the psychological warfare these scammers are running, ask yourself this one final question. When your phone sits in the dark tonight, what is it waiting for? Kind of a lot to think about before you fall asleep, right? Anyway, thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you next time.